Terrifeatar. The scent of enlightenment. A gentle reminder that air, water, and fire indeed are life-giving essences. Appreciate the intersection of time and luxury. Magnify your essence. Terrifeatar.
Hey everybody, Assalamu alaikum. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Be sure that you hit the subscribe button and the notify button so you know when you're getting new episodes, and we just grow this project. I thank you in advance. With further ado, let's get it rolling. The Shout Out Show.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Mo Better Mondays here with Preacher Moss. I'm your host for the next 30 minutes or so. I hope you're having a great day. I hope you had a great weekend. For those who didn't check us out on the weekend, we had a great show yesterday. That Potluck Sunday, man, really resonated with me. If you didn't see it, I would suggest if you get a chance, go to YouTube, or you may be able to check it out on Instagram. But it was just a Potluck Sunday. We just had a conversation about where the world is right now. Now, I want to just make a couple quick announcements. Number one, I want to give a shout out to Sister Sultana who held the showdown on Saturday when I was overbooked. Did a great job, and I appreciate that. And a shout out to Sister Reed. Sister Reed has not been on the show the last couple of days because she's been traveling. I believe that she is in Michigan or Indiana, one of the two. But we're wishing Sister Reed the best, and as well as her husband. I hope everybody's doing well. Now, normal point of business. If it's your first time coming on the Shout Out Show, thank you. I appreciate you. I hope that we can get you back coming again. And if you do come back, before you leave, if you don't mind, click the subscribe button, click the like button, click the little bell that gives you a notification that new shows are coming. This is probably the only one in the few platforms we do a new show basically every day. So I also see some people already lining up in the chats. Those people are our Shout Out Show soldiers, our Shout Out Show regulars, if you will. They come on the show, they vibe. They come from all over, Indonesia, UK, Australia, Toronto. I mean, we're just, and of course the United States, but we're just blessed to have them coming on. And I think this topic today it really did resonate with me coming from what we talked about yesterday. Because I had to ask this question. I was on my walk this morning because, I like many people, we have concerns about where the country is going, but I also have concerns about how people are treated. Does that make sense to you? I really have this deep seated compassion about how people are treated. And there's some revelations that I had out of yesterday's conversation. I'm not saying I'm carrying it over, but I think I just want to ask some really, really basic questions. So let me shout out my people. Let me give my shout outs to my folks. Sister Sultana, our consultant producer. Yeah, I gotta tell you guys, it does not happen without her. She is a star on the rise, brothers and sisters. Keep an eye on that young lady. She'll be doing her own, won't be the shout out show. She'll be doing the Sultana Whitfield show and getting more viewers than me. I don't mind though. I like success. That's what makes this whole thing work. Sister Diamond Griffin from Michigan, thank you for coming on the show. Always timely, always informative. A lot of things that you say, and we appreciate the comments. I appreciate some of the stuff offline that you brought to me, and I just want to say a heartfelt thank you for that. My brother Atif Rashid, all the way from Toronto, he makes his way through. He doesn't have to go through customs and immigration. He comes straight to the show. That's how special he is. But I appreciate you, Altaf. And if I don't say it enough, I'm going to say it now. And of course, my little brother Johnny Thomas is telling everybody, "Good afternoon, family." JT is that's my partner right there. It keeps me sharp, keeps me motivated. So, family, we're all sitting in our seats. This isn't a situation where you got to buckle up or anything like that. I just think it's time to have this talk because it's getting to the point where now it's dangerous. I have not used the word dangerous in a long time in terms of politics, but I'm using it now. Following a protest that happened here in the Washington, D.C. area, with, of course, the Trump supporters, the people who support Trump. And here's the deal. I don't mind I'm not worried or overly concerned about who you choose as a candidate. That's not my thing. My thing is how you treat people under the auspices of you are supporting this candidate. That's a big thing. I can give a shout out for my man Enrique Rashid. Enrique, are you in Indonesia, brother? You in the States? You in the States? You in Indonesia? Enrique is my classmate. He graduated without me. I had a bayon. I guess Enrique said, "Man, preach, I'm tired of waiting on you, brother." So big shout out to Enrique and your family, man. Always a good brother, man. A community guy, doing great things. Just a cool brother, man. A really cool brother. Thanks for coming on the show, Enrique. So this topic starts with a question about morality. The question about morality is, in the United States, the people who've had, quote unquote, the foothold, the imprint, the copyright, if you will, the patent on morality has not been African Americans or Latinos or Native Americans. We've been heathens, we've been savages, we've been all these things, but we haven't been seen as part of a moral center. That moral center has been established for white America. Not all of white America, but enough to make this argument. And that same white America is the one that demands that African Americans and people of color jump through hoops. Hear me now, jump through hoops to get the most basic of freedoms and rights. When I say the most basic in freedom and right, I'm just talking about where you want to live, where you want to go to school, who you want to marry, where you want to go for your education, the ability to have an honest shot at getting a job. I'm like, well, why are we having this conversation, brothers and sisters? Why is this an issue? Because there's a breakdown on that side now. And for all those people who didn't want to pray with us, they didn't want to have service with us, they didn't want to sit at counters with us, they didn't want to share water fountains. I just want you to know, you didn't all of a sudden become moral to us. You became invisible. And you became moral to people who were like you. Thus, I don't blame Donald Trump fully for what we have now. That moral center, the moral right they used to call it, even the Tea Party had a bit of a spiritual anchor that let them go somewhat far, but not too far. But in this scenario, brothers and sisters, they have abandoned that. I saw it. I said this after President Barack Obama was elected the second time. And some of you may have heard this, some of you may not. The first time Obama was elected, people considered it a fluke. Like white America couldn't organize fast enough to keep this black man from being elected. It was a fluke. And so because of the fluke, people were like, okay, I got it. It's cool. But here's the thing that happened. He won a second time. And when he won a second time, he won against the odds. He won against the fact that people, brothers and sisters, were willing to stack their reputations, all their energy, all their resources to make sure that he would not become president. And he defeated Mitt Romney. And at that point, I want to say people who engage in white supremacy, oppression, Jim Crow, all these type of things, systemic racism, in some regard, they apostatize from white supremacy. Let me say it again. There is a population going back to Barack Obama's second election, his second term, who literally stopped believing in God. When I say stop believing in God, it means you are to the point. It's like your prayers or your du'as were, oh Allah, if you really love me, you will not give me this Negro another 4 years. And they got him another 4 years. Therein was the breaking point. We can shout out Sister Ika all the way from Indonesia. How are you? All right. Sister Naima got some comments. Having a president like Mr. Goldfish, he's made it okay to be racist out loud. And he's in our faces. No need for them to hide because the leader of the free country is ringleader. Would I surprise you, Sister Naima, if I told you he's a puppet? Hey, what's going on, Ree? Assalamu alaikum. We started. I told people you were on vacation, girl. I already told them pray for you and all that good stuff. Good to have you on the show. Donald Trump is a product of a system. He's a product of a system. You see, the way white supremacy works is the people, the elites, if you will, the elites do elite things, and elites don't hang out with people who are not elite, right? If you're a millionaire, you don't hang out with people who are poor. That's the way it goes. I told you, even for African Americans who come into sports and they go from the poorhouse to the penthouse, the first thing the people who write their checks tell them is, you can't live there anymore. It's too dangerous. You can't be with your folks. Come over here. We have a structure for you. And that's what the thing, that's the okie doke. But in this thing, and hear me now, this is interesting. Donald Trump connected with these people. The person who's rich and the person who's elite, they connected. But here's the deal. He connected with the poor people in a way that the senators and the politicians couldn't. And I believe it's because he's poor. He's poor. He knows what it is to live that life knowing that you have to ask other people for money for your sustenance. But the difference between a lot of poor people is that they work, is that they're humble, is that they're grateful. He is not, because to do those things would recognize him or expose him as being poor. He doesn't have those qualities. You know, being meek is not one of his qualities. But he tapped into a lot of folks. And I'm gonna say this. So let's just get it off the table. Some of the most pious, self-righteous, holier than thou folks ain't got no money. They broke. They broke. No dough. And I'm not making any disparaging comments on poverty. I'm just saying we keeping it real. They're not rich folks. Our masjids operate on goodwill. Our churches operate on goodwill and faith and hope, and been doing it for a long time. But we haven't run into large incidences of generational wealth. We haven't done that. And so the church maintains on the spirit and the necessity of having a house of worship. Have you ever been to the Church of the Moral Right? Hmm? The First Baptist Church of Evangelicals? Nah. It's something only in name and practice in concept. You see, because those people recognize that they're just like everyone else. But here's a guy who told them, if you let me lie to you, I can make you feel better about yourself. And that's what happens. So here we are, 2020. How many, over a week after Joe Biden was declared the winner of the election, we're still not any closer. People are dying, people are getting infected, but I couldn't forget the moral rights. The moral whites are silent. And why are you silent? Here's the reason why they're silent, brothers and sisters. And feel free to jump in. To quote my good brother Malcolm X, you're dealing with chickens coming home to roost. And you fear that you can't speak up about this man, because to speak up about this man is an indictment on you. It speaks to not only his character, but your character. The only reason that this election was close is because people enjoyed the anonymity of the voting booth or the mail-in ballot. You didn't have to say who you voted for. You can say, hey, I'm with you, I'm moral, but when you got in the voting booth, you voted for the immoral thing, the man with no character, the man with no plan. You know why? Because that man mirrors you. Do you know how many lives have been lost, ruined, manipulated through religion here in America? When I say through religion, I'm talking African Americans, Latinos, Native Americans. The ability of white conscience, white existence to practice religion is based on the fact that no one else could practice their religion. So Africans had to be Christians. Latinos had to be Catholics. Native Americans had to cut their hair and go to these god-awful schools to be reoriented to be white. As my man said, go from being the red man to an apple, right? Red on the outside, white on the inside. That is the discouraging point that we have to talk about. And for that point, brothers and sisters, we are engaging in historical silence. Politicians are playing the long game. The same people who say this election was fraudulent, it was rigged, are the same people who said, I won. Mitch McConnell, how is it the election isn't rigged for you, but it's rigged for everybody else? How is it we make this assertion, for lack of a better word? Hold on a minute. Mom, check your pot. See, when you're at home, you gotta. This is when you're staying at your mother's house. You gotta check your pots. But how is it this argument for fraud? It doesn't affect all the Republicans that won. Doesn't affect all the Democrats that won. But somehow we're led to believe that a conspiracy is so intricate that it can pick and choose through the voting process of all the people who put a ballot in, mailed it in, and some algorithm, some magical miracle algorithm allowed them to defraud this situation. But you see what I'm saying is the fact that it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there. It may seem like it began there, but it doesn't stop there. All the behaviors that you've seen over the period of 4 years represent silence, done in silence. While it's done and it enjoys silence, it doesn't mean that people are not cope. It doesn't mean that the people are not culpable for acts of crime. George Floyd. I want everybody, if you get a chance, just rewind it in your mind. Don't watch the video. But when George Floyd was choked out on that street, I saw a man with a knee on this black man's neck who, in his heart of hearts, looked around and smiled inside and go, I'm going to get away with this. The moral outrage from African Americans and Latinos, the usual suspects, I call us, is going to be loud and rambunctious and robust, but it won't last. It won't last because they know the system. And the system doesn't benefit us. The system benefits people who are what? Silent. The people who are what? Quiet. The people who are what? Acquiesce to the fact that these things are wrong, but they won't do anything about it. And all we get arguing and yelling at that same system, brothers and sisters, is tired, is stressed out. Blood pressure levels high, sugar's high, can't get sleep. I'm stressed out all day. You know, they always talk about soldiers that come back from the war having post-traumatic stress syndrome. I believe that. But there has to be an analogy for us that have to stay here and deal with this same thing. This is pre, during, and post-traumatic stress. Living in the United States, led to believe, not even led to believe, we wake up every day knowing that the system is not going to work. Every day we wake up knowing that a woman can pick up a phone, a white woman can pick up a phone and say a black man is doing something criminal, like breathing, and the police will show up. And as bogus as that is, she knows, just like the guy that had his knee on George Floyd's neck, that in my system, if I could get over to my system, I could get away with it. Let me tell you guys, let me break down some facts. Ahmaud Arbery, we saw get shot on film. Breonna Taylor never got any justice. And the man who put his knee on George Floyd's neck posted bail. How does that happen? He posted bail. We watch murder. So even if brothers and sisters, he does go to jail, he is convicted, it's a hollow victory. And the reason it's a hollow victory is because I think about all the other people who got away with it. All the other people that enjoyed the system. Where is the resistance of the moral whites? The ones that nitpick every aspect of non-white life, of people of colored life, who appropriate the best of us and make mockery of it. They appropriate the best of us and they don't even make it the best of it. They pervert it and then they sell it back to us. Why is rap the way it is now? You know why? I'm going to tell you why. Because at one point in time, I remember a woman going, those rap lyrics are horrible. Those rap lyrics are this, typical, and da-da-da-da. And black folk, well, you know, we don't want them to be mad. It's going to affect my record sales. And they put a parental advisory label on the album. That was a value statement. That was a character statement, brothers and sisters. You know why? Because you can go to the movie and I'll tell you what a movie is rated. And they'll charge you for it. All you need to do is what? Be appropriate age. PG, PG-13, R. Now, how is they could put just a parental advisory on an album or a CD, brothers and sisters, and we have to change everything about us? That moral outrage is bogus. It only works when they want something. It only works to uphold the system. And I say this, and I'm going to say it again. If you want to combat this system, you're going to have to do two things: disconnect from the system and create your own system. Disconnect from the system and create your own system. There's no way in God's green earth that we are going to succeed in this system. We're never going to have the upper hand. You're never going to have a clear, convincing win. Every time we win, it has to be clear and convincing. Just like the boxing analogy Chris Rock talked about with black people in America. He goes, there's a boxing match, you're never going to win by decision. It's got to be an absolute and utter knockout. Do you know how much energy that takes? You know the luck and the positioning and just the absolute amount of investment that has to happen for that to do. I'm like, that's crazy. You guys have heard of it before, though. What your mama tell you back in the day? Sister Naima, Ree, Alta, JT, what your mama tell you when you're going back in the day? How many times did you have to be better than a white man? My mom had it like 3-4 times. You gotta be 4 times as bad as good as the white man to be equal to the white man. I'm like, first of all, who said the white man was that good? At least these white men. You know, it's my belief. Martin Luther King, who I really respect. I believe he became a true threat when people began to ask Martin Luther King about his message. And his message was interesting because people really thought Martin Luther King wanted equality. Let me say it again. He wanted equality with white people. He didn't want equality with white people. He looked at white people and goes, who wants to be equal to that? These people with no mercy, these people with no compassion, who wants to be? Check cameras, I don't know. You know, we can see you on the screen. Go ahead and wave. See y'all. See the crew, everybody. You're on the screen now. All right, don't worry about it.
All right, see you tomorrow.
Take care. Save everybody. Tell Miss Alamo bye. Take care now.
Bye.
All right, assalamu alaikum. Let me put this up. But the interesting thing was, I felt the same way. Why do you want to be equal to somebody that's an inferior representation? Why do we work down? Why do we work backwards? You know, there's an old saying that said, you know, that you're sitting on the TV watching the sofa, and that's been a large part of it. Hey, Mom, you close the door. Thank you. Oh, yes. Sister Naima has framed this thing well. They love saying innocent until proven guilty, but even with proof of the crime, it still is not justice. Everything nowadays is recorded on phones, but even with clear present evidence of a murder, white people still get off. But when we kill each other, we go underneath the jail. Yeah. Let me put this up. All right. Put the charm school. Wow. That's deep. It's deep. You see how we change and we appropriate ourselves under this whole system. You know, when I went to high school, I went to military school. And the best thing about that military school, all my drill instructors were black. One of them was called Sergeant Sharp. He was a gunny sergeant. He'd been in the Marine 32 years. And Sergeant Sharp told me one thing. I'm going to stay on you for 2 reasons. Number one, I want you to get decent grades and graduate. He said, number 2, he said, I'm going to make sure these white folks don't turn you into a punk. Because I went to Catholic school. Go figure that now. And even then, even though we know these people, these folks, the moral whites, they show their colors every day. Donald Trump understood that this was a subculture. Give him credit now. Give him credit. He tapped into a subculture. He's still thinking that that subculture is there. But I honestly believe that if Joe Biden is not after June 20th, I believe it's going to be a riot. People are going to storm downtown, and we're just going to get this over one way or the other. I hope it's not that. But my point is, as I wrap up, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sister Salim, good to see you. Where is the resistance, brothers and sisters? Where is the resistance from the moral whites? The ones that employed and voted for Muslim bans. They applied for Muslim bans and the wall. And that people shouldn't have health care during the worst pandemic in the world. You know what they're doing? They're hedging their bets. Because they keep that little space, that small little crawl space of white supremacy alive, but they keep looking over the fence to see if black folk and Latinos and Native Americans, if we get our act together, because as soon as we get our act together, they're in business. You know why? Because they're going to assume that they have moral authority to tell us what the hell to do. Well, I voted because I was the only lever you had. But there's a way to break this thing. So let me add this and I'm going to go. Remember one thing Muhammad said, something I remember. I've said it before, but it's very apropos now. He said, if you don't like the way people treat you, change the way you think. Let me say it again. If you don't like the way people treat you, change the way you think. I'm going to implore everybody to change the way you think. And don't wait for people to mistreat you. Change the way you think as a preemptive move, as a first move, not a reaction. And I'm going to tell you why. Because it's liberating. It's liberating. Don't wait for people to catch up with you with rules and laws that make any sense. Go on your journey. Because the one thing that the moral whites, quote unquote, lack is creativity and initiative. They can only kill things and restrict things that don't move. So I told you two things we need to do. Number one, let's for a little bit. Let's maybe let's not put our money in these institutions. Maybe we put out a press release, 500,000 to 1.5 million of us that say, hey, you know what? We're not going to support these businesses that support this structure. It happened in Birmingham. It can happen now. We're not going to give you the votes that you need to continue this structure. Happened before, it can happen now. If we really get to that point, which requires a lot of discipline, a lot of faith, and a lot of conversation, brothers and sisters, because got a lot of Uncle Tom, house Negroes, field Negroes, house Muslims, and field Muslims alike. But if we can get this one thing straight, at a basic level, I guarantee that the moral whites will be the moral missing. I'm finished, brothers and sisters. Have an exceptional day. I mean, it's a Monday, but do what you can with it. Tuesday comes tomorrow. I want everybody to have a blessed day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Preacher Mars, the ShOUT Show.
This is your brother, Preacher Moss. Listen, I hope that you enjoyed your ShOUT Show experience. We'll be back with the next show, the next ShOUT Show. A simple ask before you go, please help your brother out. Click that subscribe button, click that notify button, and I'll see you again on this side of the microphone. You probably wonder what that smell is. That's me. I smell good. And the reason I smell good is because I use oils from Tarifatar. So I'm not saying you can't smell good. I'm not even saying you stink. I'm saying you have the opportunity to smell exquisite. Check out tarifatar.com for some of the best oils and scents in town.